Live from Keene, New Hampshire, the most watched TV news show in Keene, the Keene Weekly News with Mark Edgington. Coverage of local and national events starts now.
Good evening. It's the Keene Weekly News. My name is Mark Edgington. Today is July the 6th, 2007. Starting right in with the news. Looks like they're going to allow two-way traffic on Grove Street. The traffic will be open two ways starting Tuesday at midnight. Thank God. Just a little bit of the mess is relieved, at least. I know that it's got to be rough on the Grove Street residents. They're not used to that many cars going up and down the street, but it's really not the car's fault. It's the city council's fault for deciding that this roundabout was a good idea. I think it was awful having to drive all the way up to Eastern, go around, and I had to do that 2 or 3 times a day. Just not much fun. It seems to me the roundabout is kind of interesting. I guess now we have a blind Keene State student. How is that person going to cross the roundabout? Maybe they should have thought of that before they decided to spend $4.2 million on it. Now somebody's proposing a tunnel underneath the roundabout. I wonder how much that's going to cost. What a good idea. They have so much money there. So much of your money, your tax-paying money. And they just don't know what to do with it all. So they have to come up with these fun little things. Anyway, speaking of the holiday season, looks like the Keene Independence Eve at Alumni Field starts at 7 p.m. with the Swamp Bats taking the Stanford Mainers, and fireworks start at 10. No, they didn't. I was there at 10, and everybody was leaving. I don't know whether this was a mistake on the part of the Keene Sentinel, or whether it was the bureaucrats involved, or whether the game ended a little soon and they decided, we'll just put the fireworks on. But a lot of people wanted to go see those fireworks and didn't get to see them because, well, they went off early. And I would be one of them. Another job by the bureaucrats, I guess. So, looks like Bill Richardson was the first ever presidential candidate to come to the town of Marlow. Now, New Hampshire, it's really easy to run for president, and I've heard that there's almost 100 people running for president here in our primary. Not that many of them will make it all the way to the primary season, but they've quote-unquote thrown their hat in the ring. Is he the first guy and ever, even a Marlow resident, never ran for president in New Hampshire where it's so easy? Yeah, I'm sure it was very interesting. He'll probably get more votes in Marlow than where he'll get elsewhere. I don't think it'll do him any good, but anyway. There's a group in New Hampshire, or it's a national group, but it's challenging roadblocks that go off in New Hampshire with summer barbecues and 4th of July celebrations, often leading to heavier alcohol consumption. Area police departments are stepping up patrols to target drunk drivers. But a national association that claims to represent the interests of moderate drinkers, seems like most Americans are probably falling into that category, is waging a campaign against the use of sobriety checkpoints, saying that they can miss the most dangerous drunken drivers. Statewide sobriety checkpoints have become increasingly prevalent in the recent years, and more departments are applying for state grants to pay for the roadblocks. State grants. Each checkpoint conducted on a pre-advertised street for 6 hours at a time usually results in 5 to 6 DWI arrests, said Pether Thompson, coordinator of the New Hampshire Highway Safety Agency. So they're at pre-advertised locations. They're not trying to catch drunk drivers. They're trying to catch dumb drunk drivers because it's advertised where they're going to be. I don't know what I think about the whole drunk driving checkpoint thing, but does checkpoints make anybody as nervous as they make me? Just the whole idea of the cops setting up shop and going, "Papers, please. Who are you? Where are you going? What are you doing?" Just asking a bunch of questions. Now, I absolutely think anybody who's just driving around like a drunken lunatic needs to be pulled over and given a ticket. Or worse, taken to jail or whatever. I mean, if they're driving around and they're making and they're weaving all over the road and driving poorly, they need to be taken care of. But checkpoints, I don't know, bothers me. I love this one. Winners and losers in the state budget. Here's a winner. State employees. Not only got financing of a 2-year contract, but also a $100,000 a year fund to create incentives to help workers avoid having to pay parking tickets downtown. The final budget includes money to continue a popular shuttle bus that picks up state workers at the Stowers Street parking lot near Interstate 93. And by any fair evaluation, this contract was very good it was a very good one for the State Employees Association. Wasn't that nice? The state employees get a little shuttle to take them to and from work. What about the rest of us? They get their parking tickets paid. Nobody pays my parking tickets. How come the state employees get this kind of preferential treatment? Is it because they work for the government and they're better than us? Sometimes I think that's how they feel. Here's another winner, L-CHIP. The Popular Land and Building Preservation Program at long last will have a permanent funding source. Just in case you wondered, that permanent funding source is you. Somebody voted on it, decided that L-CHIP needed the funding, and you're going to pay for it. John Lynch, more than any other governor in recent memory, this 2-term Democrat got into this budget what he wanted and how he wanted it. Good for him. What they don't mention in here is losers. They got a whole list of losers. Health and Human Services Commissioner John Stephen, he's a loser. Fish and Game Department, they're losers. County governments, they're losers. What they don't mention is the New Hampshire taxpayer, because the New Hampshire taxpayer loses. They have to pay those taxes, those property taxes, and if they don't, they get their house taken away. Seems to me like the New Hampshire taxpayer is the big loser here, and the winners get their money. It's nice. Take my tax money and just roll the dice and decide who gets it. Here's a federal program. Battling fat has little success. The federal government will spend more than $1 billion this year on nutritional education. Fresh carrot and celery snacks, videos of dancing fruit, hundreds of hours of lively lessons about how you'll feel better if you eat well. But an Associated Press review of scientific studies examining 57 programs, found them mostly to be a failure. 4 showed real success in changing the way kids eat. Does it bother you like it bothers me that the federal government is telling us how to eat? I mean, isn't that something we can handle, teaching our own kids how to eat? And does anybody remember how it used to be that eggs were good for you, and then they were bad for you, and now they're good for you again? I mean, it seems like there's this sort of, I don't know, ping-ponging around of what's good and what's bad. You know, too much vitamin B will kill you. Watch out for those vitamins. You'll get toxicity. You better take your vitamins. I get a little confusion here. Now, I don't think there's anyone who would doubt that eating vegetables and fruits is good for you. It's a very good thing. But should the government be telling us how to eat? I mean, is that their job? Isn't the government's job to keep us safe from bank robbers and enemy armies and stuff? I don't know. Seems like $1 billion and it doesn't do anything. It's another just big waste of money. Boondoggle. I believe that's what they call it. It's a boondoggle. Let's just stop funding nutritional education. I mean, should the schools be teaching everything to our kids? Are parents really able to abdicate their responsibilities of teaching their kids how to be adults? I don't think that most parents are doing that. I think parents are teaching their kids what's right and what's wrong to eat and everything else in their lives. I don't think the school needs to be involved in that. I don't know. Government telling you what to eat. You must have 5 fruits and vegetables every day, or else we'll come and get you. I wonder when and how long it's going to be before there's a government database in the schools where they decide, they ask kids questions, decide how much they're eating, and they take down little notes, and they have a visit to the parents' house and say, so, I understand you're not feeding fruits and vegetables to your kids often enough. We're going to have to put you on parental probation. Perhaps we'll have to take your kids away. Is this too far in the distant future? As a matter of fact, in Great Britain, I mean, they speak English. They're like us. We love Great Britain. They're already doing this. They've already got a program that's tracking what kids eat. The next thing is government officials coming to their houses. How far are we from this? Get the government out of my cupboard, please. Pantry police. What the hell? All right. Building's future is falling fast. 92 Water Street, that's an abandoned shoe factory over there. Apparently, plans to restore the retired mill building at 92 Water Street in Keene have fallen through, along with the roof. But city officials are hoping to fix both holes soon. Officials plan to move quickly, they said, to revisit proposals for the building after plans for the Keene Tile Works to rehabilitate the aging building and its new headquarters collapsed last week. Apparently, the bank doesn't want to fund a building whose roof has fallen in. Now the city is left with a deteriorating former shoe factory. Why does the city have a deteriorating former shoe factory? Did they buy this land? Did they confiscate it from their previous owners for lack of paying their taxes? I mean, how did the city come into possession of this land? It seems a little scary to me. Why does the Keene own this factory? I mean, surely it's worth something. Can't we just lower the price? Get it out of the city's hands. I bet one of the concerns of the bank is the tremendous amount of taxes that's going to have to be paid every year on this large parcel of land and this big building. If the Keene City Council really wants to get rid of this building, and you'll see in just a second that they don't, if they really wanted to get rid of the building, they just put tax amnesty on it for 5-7 years or something like that. Then the person who bought it, shoot, they don't have to pay taxes for 7 years. They can get their little business up and running, and that would be a good thing, and, wouldn't have to pay taxes on it. Now, I know that on a $200,000 home in Keene, you pay something like $5,500 in taxes. I can only imagine what a giant shoe factory brings in. I can only imagine what the taxes are going to be on this. No wonder it's so difficult to get rid of. Taxes are too high on it. Here's a good one. Lawn dart hits a man in the head. Nashua. There's a reason lawn darts are illegal. The man was hospitalized Wednesday in Nashua after being hit in the head with a lawn dart at a party. Fire rescue... Can you imagine if you were the guy who threw the lawn dart and hit your friend in the head? Oh, God. Fire rescue officials say the 21-year-old man was hit in the top of the head with a foot-long, sharp metal lawn dart while playing the game. His name was not released. Lawn darts have been banned for sale in the United States for nearly 20 years. The government says that they were responsible for 4 deaths and 6,700 injuries over a 10-year period. I'm not sure which 10-year period. They've been illegal for 20 years. Are they talking about now? In lawn dart games, opposing players... The rules to lawn dart in the news. So... Lawn darts have been illegal for 20 years, and this guy got hit in the head with a lawn dart. Apparently, the lawn dart laws aren't working. We need a war on lawn darts. This is terrible. This guy's been injured. He could have been killed. Just let people do what they're going to do. Obviously, lawn darts are still popular. People are playing them. I remember the things. They seem dangerous as hell, but... apparently somebody wants to play them. Why should these things be illegal? Are we, either the government must think you're too stupid to handle lawn darts. Apparently that guy was. But don't worry, nature takes care of stupid people. Goal nears for the temple project. Organizers are just $60,000 away from raising the money needed to establish a new state reservation at the former Temple Mountain ski area. In addition to other money raised, the capital budget passed by the legislature last week includes $435,000 in funding towards the $1.7 million project, leaving $60,000 according to a press release from the Monadnock Conservancy. one of the groups working on the project. If this thing failed as a ski resort, what's it going to do now? I'm sure that it's going to be great fun when they're done with it, after they spend $1.7 million on it. I climbed Temple Mountain just a month and a half ago, maybe. And it was nice. It was a nice little climb, but do we need tax dollars? Does the legislature need to be really doling out $500,000 just of our money like it's okay for this thing? I mean, what if I don't want to participate in this temple thing? I still have to pay for it. This is not a good idea. If it's such a great idea, if it's such a fabulous idea that we restore Temple Mountain to its grandeur, whether it's a ski resort or whatever they're going to do with it, if it's such a great idea, won't people pay for it? I mean, if people are going to want to use it, won't they pay for it? Walt Disney World doesn't need any government funding. Somehow they draw people there. Their ticket prices are outrageous. They're like $75 a person. All right. Apparently a Harrisville pupil won a contest. Caitlin Scott of Harrisville, a 6th grader at Mountain Shadow School, was the winner of an annual graphics themes contest for the NH Dance Institute's Event of the Year, Galileo. Congratulations, Caitlin. Parents in survey critical of violence and sex. 2/3 of parents said that they are very concerned about sex and violence in the nation's media, and they would be in broad support for new federal limits on such material in television, a survey said last week. Apparently, 20% are very concerned, 32% are somewhat concerned. Parents favoring new regulations to limit the amount of sex and violence on TV during early evening hours, which is so important. 66% of parents favor that. Apparently, 66% of parents don't know where the off button is on their television. Can you imagine? Or maybe they just want to make sure that you're parenting your kids the way they would. Look, if you don't want your kids to see sex and violence on television, turn it off. If there's sex and violence on television and people start turning it off, then they'll get rid of the sex and violence. Believe me, ratings are very important to TV organizations. You have a vote every single time you turn on that television. And if you're a parent and you're using the television to babysit your kids, don't be mad at the television for what it shows. Be mad at yourself for not being a good parent. It's your responsibility to watch what your kids, to watch out what your kids see on television. So this one I got out of the newspaper. It's All Kinds Seek Poker Crown. It was in the sports section. Poker in the sports section. Now, I've played poker before. I never imagined it was a sport. I guess they just didn't have any place else to put it. I suppose you could put poker in the life section? I don't know. Just thought it was an interesting thing. No jail time for Libby. Apparently, Bush has commuted the sentence of his little crony there. With his decision to keep Louis Scooter Libby from going to jail, President Bush has provoked a firestorm of controversy, but avoided what might have been even more damaging to his presidency: defections from Republican loyalists who are among the last to support the beleaguered White House. Now, I would imagine that most of the people on the Democratic side, outraged that Libby his sentence has been commuted. And I can see why some of there's always going to be diehards on either side. There's going to be people out there that would vote for Joseph Stalin if he was the Republican nominee for the president. There's people out there that would vote for Adolf Hitler if he was the Democratic nominee. Those people don't matter. It's the people in the middle, the real Americans thinking about the issues that matter. And now, by no means is Bush the only person who's ever commuted sentences. Clinton was a commuting fool at the end of his presidency. And certainly some of the people whose sentences he commuted could have been considered cronies. But I think what is outrageous about this is that the American people know that if it was them that was sentenced by a jury of their peers to 30 months in jail, that nobody would have come to save them. But in this case, since the guy worked for the Bush administration, Apparently he can do no wrong. Now, Bush didn't go out and pardon him because, well, that probably would have polarized some people against him. I guess he was trying to take a half step here by commuting the sentence. But doesn't it bother you that these politicians can get away with doing, apparently breaking laws? I don't know all the specifics. It's my understanding it was a perjury conviction, and but he was sentenced by a jury of his peers. Doesn't it bother you that if it was you, you'd go to jail, but since it's him, he doesn't have to? I mean, you've got to be a real lockstep Republican to think that this is a good thing. We need somebody new in the White House. We need something different going on there. We've had too much of the, do nice things for your friends and punish your enemies politics going on in the White House for too long. I'm not just talking about George Bush. I'm not just talking about Bill Clinton. What we need is somebody who's going to go in there and clean house. The only person that I can see that's running for president that's going to be able to do that is Ron Paul. You can check out more about Ron Paul at ronpaul2008.com. I think he's America's only hope. Really. I really believe we're slipping into a fascist police state, a big government nightmare, and that only one politician is going to be able to save us. Booming fireworks sales worry some police. I'm sure they're always worried about something. Fireworks sales are booming, as well as challenges in New Hampshire towns where their use is restricted, and in Massachusetts where fireworks are illegal. This year, we've seen an increase in reports of fireworks going off as it leads up to the 4th of July, said John Romero, police chief in Lawrence, Massachusetts, where police confiscated fireworks and arrested 3 men last week. 3 men arrested in jail for fireworks. I set these things off as a kid, by myself, unsupervised. I'm not recommending that. I don't think it was a good idea, but they're just fireworks. These guys are in jail. We've had more reports of fireworks in the neighborhood in the past year, and based on our own observations as well, police in Windham and Derry and Salem, where towns ban letting off fireworks, know that residents need only travel as far as Londonderry, where there's no restriction on fireworks, to visit 2 large dealers. The stores stock large inventories of fireworks, which are different from the novelty items. Just novelty items, they're safe. Sparklers burn at 1800 degrees. Set that right against your skin, it could hurt you. Ooh, it could hurt you. Can't let people have things that'll hurt them. Sold at department stores and supermarkets. Though these items can be dangerous too, Derry. Yes, warning that they can be dangerous. The worst period, as though setting off fireworks is a bad thing. Celebrating our country's freedom in the manner that we've always done it is a bad thing. These people apparently think you're too dumb to handle fireworks. Either that, or they just want increased revenues from arresting people and giving out tickets. One of the two. Either it's, fundraising with guns, or you're too dumb to handle fireworks. Now, I understand there are people out there that get injured with fireworks every single year. Not that there's any reports of them in this story. You would think that that would be a good place to put it. But I think that there's probably a lot more people harmed by the fireworks laws themselves than by the fireworks. Think about it. The laws are hurting more people. These 3 guys in jail. Nobody in this article is mentioned about being hurt. What's the worst thing that can happen with a firecracker? It stings? I mean, I've seen videos online of people lighting fireworks off in their teeth. I don't think it's a good idea, but what's the worst thing that can happen? Buy local, group from Vermont says. Now, I've seen it's Keene to shop locally bumper stickers. I even have one. But I wonder about this whole buy local thing. I've thought about it a little bit, and it seems like it might be something like religious fervor. Janice Shade wants Vermonters to celebrate Independence Day this week by shopping at local, independent stores rather than big chain outlets. Underhill resident and executive director for the year-old group Local First Vermont, Shade says led a small rally at the State House on Monday to urge Vermonters to help the local economy by keeping their shopping local when possible. I understand that it helps the local economy to shop locally, and I do. But doesn't it help the local economy to have large retailers too? I mean, don't people work there? People from here get paychecks from those places? I mean, that's good. Do the local businesses that we are supposed to shop locally at, I'm supposed to buy all my stuff from local businesses, right? Do they buy all their stuff from local businesses? Should I be, obligated to shop at a Honda dealership, for instance? I mean, it's local, but they sell cars from a Japanese manufacturer, although the manufacturers them in Kentucky. This is all so confusing to me. Should a local retailer, only buy stuff that's, manufactured as locally as possible? I mean, I go to a local bar, but what about buying Budweiser? It's manufactured in St. Louis. Should I only drink Smutty Nose? This gets all so confusing. And what about the local retailer? Shouldn't they be responsible for buying locally if I'm responsible for buying locally? I don't know. Seems like local retailers should establish relationships with local people, provide really good service, and then people will want to go there, and we won't have all this, making you feel guilty about not shopping locally. State repeals abortion law. New Hampshire is the first state to take parental notification off the books. Now, I can't say I can take real strongly one side or the other in the abortion debate. I think that if you're talking about ending life, I mean, obviously it's a human life, right? That's a bad thing. But I know that the state getting involved is only going to result in people being put in jail, doctors being locked up, young girls going to get back alley abortions with coat hangers. That's going to result in young girls dying. So I don't think that laws are a good thing in this particular instance. But when I'm responsible for a 15-year-old girl, my daughter, I'm responsible for sending her to school, buying her clothes, making sure she's fed, probably buying her a car. I'm responsible for this child. Are you telling me that some medical professional doesn't have to let me know when my daughter's getting an abortion? I mean, who's supposed to be responsible for this child? Who's going to have to pay those medical bills if something goes wrong at this clinic? I don't know. Just something to think about. I'm Mark Edge. This is the Keene Weekly News. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments on any things that I've editorialized here, you can go ahead and write me at mark@freekeene.com. That's MARK@freekeene.com. Thanks. Have a good week.